Hello, folks. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. As always, my name is Udor Theo, and I'm back with the 81st episode of Keeping It Realistic, that bi-weekly show that we do in collaboration with Chaos, and which is dedicated to one of the most active, supportive, and amazing visualization communities out there, the Chaos Campus. And the goal of this format is to provide you with insights and knowledge that you don't find anywhere else, unless you're willing to pay a lot of money for it, of course. Welcome to the second episode for this July and the last one before our summer break. Let me see. I see you're already there. Despite our technical issues, you're here for us watching. That's lovely. Thank you so much for this. Always a pleasure to have you around, no matter if in the live session or those of you who watch the recordings later, which many of you tend to do. We hope that they are insightful to you, inspiring, and of course also enjoyable. And of course, with this start, we cannot mention a bit of a tech info. Like less than 15 minutes into our previous live session, the stream quality suddenly dropped from 1080p, which we usually have, to 360p, which obviously is a total no-go for a show which is focusing so much on visual topics. For the previous episode, it wasn't such a big deal because it was more about the talk than the images that were shown. Also, I think it's almost ironic for the stream quality to, go south during an episode which is dedicated to the ups and downs of our industry. Anyway, as you may imagine, for this to not happen again, I did a lot of research and I actually found a solution which we even tested last Thursday with Amit. We went live and talked for an hour. We shared screens. We did everything we do during a normal live session. And after more than an hour, the quality has been constant the whole time at 1080p. So it seems like that issue is solved. But for me, despite, let's say, the positive outcome, I still want to have a plan B. And we have it now. We have a backup stream. And we also, from today on, don't only go live on Facebook, but also on Riverside and even eventually also on YouTube as well. So should something with the stream quality happen, like going down and going to 360p or something like this, then please let me know in the comments and I'll drop you the link for you to move over to the Riverside platform where you'll be able to watch the stream without any issues. Now, as for today's issue, this was not expected despite all the tests and despite everything. We cannot predict the future. So sometimes when it comes to live shows, we gotta bear with things like this happening. And Amit, I see you in the comments. Thanks once again, my friend, for supporting me in the test last week and making sure that for the future of this show, we'll always have good stream quality. I hope it is still good. If not, tell me about it and we'll do something. Now, enough about technical topics. Let's go back to today's episode and the exciting topic it tackles. Today, we'll take a look at the ways of using AI to one's advantage. You see, not long ago, I was on Udemy searching for various AI courses. And what very quickly stood out to me was that most tutors, instead of, sweet talking me into buying their courses as they normally would, they were promising me the moon, the sun, the stars, and the whole freaking universe. It's like, get this course, learn to create AI agents that will do all the work for you while you sleep, while you do your hobbies, and generally while you enjoy life. You've probably seen something like this, and it sounds great, let's be honest here, but at the same time, it kind of makes you wonder, why would a person who knows how to create such agents spend all that time to pre-record hours of talking head video lessons? Or why does a person like this offer one-on-one in-person sessions when they can just, let the AI agent do it while they're on some tropical beach sipping on a cocktail? So long story short, my point is that when it comes to AI, there is a lot of hot air and big empty promises out there. Personally, I don't believe that AI is capable of solving all our problems. or completely replacing the need of a human touch or mind. What I do believe, however, is that when used with clear goals and intent in mind, AI can be a great catalyst and companion, helping us reach further destinations faster and in a more efficient way. The creative journey of my guest for today's episode is a perfect example for that. She's young, she does what she loves, and she's absolutely killing it. And all of this because she didn't hesitate taking the initiative with AI. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me straight from London, Miss Rada Daleva. Hello, zdrasti, Rada.
No. Hello, zdravej. Oh my
everyone.
God, is everything working this time?
Yes, this time it's working. Right now you're a bit pixelated, but this clears out. We already tested it. Once again, to you, thank you so much for making that effort. People don't know it, but at the initial, stream didn't work out. You actually took everything you had, your laptop and stuff, and 10 minutes later you were at some cafe where you called us and it actually worked. So yeah, thanks a lot for the effort and for being here.
You're very welcome. Thank you too very much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Especially given how busy you were last week, because as far as I know, you officially became a chartered architect at the Royal Institute of British Architects. It sounds so noble and so classy when spelled out. When it's abbreviated to riba, which is the Bulgarian word for fish, it's not that classy anymore. But apart from that, congratulations, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Yeah, that happened recently. And yeah, you put it very well. It sounds very fancy in English and not so much in Bulgarian, but here we go.
In the beginning of our shows, we always, take the time to get to know our guests better and learn who they are, who we have here in front of us. So please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you very much for everyone who was able to join live. And it's so ironic that I'm about to talk to you about AI, and yet my internet wasn't working. So this is how things go in real life. So thank you very much for everyone listening. My name is Rada Daleva. I am originally from Bulgaria, but I moved to the UK when I was 16. I did my A-levels here, and after that, I studied architecture, both bachelor, master's, and most recently, the final third part of architecture, which is what you need to become a chartered architect in the UK. And I very recently started my own company, for which I will tell you a lot more later on during the talk.
Please do. This is with 16 you moved to the UK.
Yes.
Were you alone, or did you move with your family?
I was alone, so I won a scholarship from Bulgaria. It was a competition, and it was over, I think, 1,000 candidates, and then 5 of us were selected to get a scholarship to study our A-levels in the UK. So I was very, very fortunate to get that opportunity, and I moved on my own to a boarding school here in the UK, just outside of London.
Wow. What is it to be, to move to a new country with 16? I moved with 18, but, with 18, you're still a bit older. You're officially a grown up and all of that. But with 16...
Well, honestly, for me, it was just very exciting. I never really tend to pontificate a lot about kind of the downsides of something, but for me it was just more exciting. It was completely different environment to everything that I was used to. Schools in Bulgaria, as you can imagine, are not the most beautiful buildings, although the education itself is great, but in terms of buildings, not so much. And since I study architecture and that's where my interest lies, that was one huge benefit for me. And then also, of course, the environment was very different. I almost entered Hogwarts in a way with the school that I was in. So for me, it was just quite exciting. Everything was new, everything was interesting, and I just yeah, I just tried to get every opportunity that I could, pretty much to explore all the new things that were in front of me. So that's how it was for me, more exciting than anything else.
I can totally relate. I had also seen, Cambridge and Oxford and stuff. And when I went to the German language high school in Sofia, I hadn't seen it before. So I expected something like this, Hogwarts like and stuff, a castle and all the, greenery around. And then it was this brown prison like building, which totally disillusioned me. But yeah, it is as it is. At the end of the day, as you say, what counts is what you learn there, and not how much it looks. But of course, I can imagine that learning in such a setting definitely inspires you more,
For sure. It does, yeah, for sure.
especially if you're interested in design and architecture, right?
Yeah, 100%. It was definitely very interesting to see and compare, and yeah, feel inspired by the new environment.
Yeah, totally. So, you have prepared something for us?
Yes, I have.
You want to show it?
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna. So, what I've prepared is a presentation of kind of all the work that I'm currently working on, and a little bit of the work that I've done before. So I can share my screen.
For you, my friends, that you're watching this right now, Rada's image is a bit, unfortunately, her camera image is a bit messy right now. For the recording for YouTube, it's going to be great, but it's due to, her being not at home or her being at this cafe. But we tested that what she shares, as you can see here, it's perfectly clear, and this is what counts the most. You get the chance to enjoy her beautiful face afterwards in a HD recording. So
Thank you. So
for
you can see
now,
my
I
screen
will
well.
just, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I wanted to walk you through kind of the different projects that I am currently working on, and show you the different use cases for AI that I'm exploring with my company. But also, after that, we can, if needed, I can tell you a little bit even more about the background or any further questions you have about what I've done. But very recently, in the beginning of the year, I started my own studio called Daliva Design. And I'm working on architecture, interior design, and furniture using AI. So I believe that the main benefits of AI is that you can explore a lot of new opportunities, and you can start creating a lot more holistic concepts, which is what I do. And so I think it's very important. So creating a lot of bespoke design and complete design. So all the way from the location, from the architecture to every interior piece, and all the way down to designing bespoke furniture. And this has been possible thanks to AI. So it all began for me with furniture. I was while I was at uni in my second year of masters, or actually during my first year of masters, I started exploring AI and primarily image generation and what it could do. So I started creating a lot of different designs, posting them on social media. I branded them. And by creating this brand and posting all of these designs, I suddenly got a client. And they reached out to me directly on Instagram, and they wanted this chair that you see, this sofa that you see on the left. So
So
in the
just to
meantime,
interrupt you here for a second, so you're just experimenting with, let's say, Midjourney, creating AI furniture, and you're
Mhm.
sharing it on your social media, and all of a sudden somebody's like, you know what, I want that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And at the time, it was also very rough. So it was still in the very beginning, in the early stages of AI images. So the images still looked quite rough, to be fair. But yeah, even then, someone reached out and just said, well, do you sell this sofa? How much does it cost? And so on. And I want to buy it for my home.
Fantastic.
Um,
This is just
yeah.
fantastic. And it shows once again how important it is to actually, show yourself, put your work out there and let people see it.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think a lot of us, including me, I'm guilty of that. We're stuck into aiming for perfection, and we want to make sure that everything is perfect, everything is refined before we share it with the public. But what this taught me is that sometimes you just need to be out there. You just need to show your work. You just need to be creative and put your work out there, and it might get noticed. And of course, as you keep doing it, you just keep improving yourself and you keep building on that vision. But it's just always good to start somewhere, and kind of starting somewhere is the most difficult part, because I think most of us just want everything to be figured out and everything to be perfect before we take the leap. But because at the time I was still at uni and I had the time to experiment, I was just experimenting, and putting it out there. So yeah, I 100% encourage everyone to not be so paralyzed by perfection.
Oh, that's beautifully put. Not be paralyzed by perfection. Just, put it out there.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly, as you can see on the left, the image is not perfect. Also, as you can see on the right, this was the sofa that we ended up producing with the producer that I was in touch at the time. He was in South Africa, and the clients were in America. So it was quite an adventure producing the sofa, which was 3.5 meters big. So the transportation was a whole new ball game. And as you can see on the right, the final quality is also not perfect. If I'm to do this again, of course, there are so many things that I want to improve on and could improve on. But this was the start, and this is what gave me the courage to continue.
And you
Um,
did this as a freaking student, right? We shouldn't forget this. This is already an international project that you did with South Africa, with the USA, you being in London, or in the UK, and you're already doing this. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. So yeah, so I did it while I was a student. So I think that was also a blessing, just because I had more time. Because I think when we get into work, we're very pressured by time. And of course, studying architecture, I mean, I'm not saying that I had all the time in the world. Don't get me wrong; it was also a very demanding course. But looking back, I did have more time at my hands than I do now. So yeah, that was really, really interesting and really good experience for me. And also it was it was amazing for me to have supportive tutors. So shout out to Arthur Mamomani and Toby Burgess, who were my tutors at uni, and they were really, really supportive of what I was doing, and they really encouraged me to keep pursuing it. So then I continued with architecture. I was the project lead at Studio Tinfu. So Studio Tinfu was a company that is and at the forefront of using AI in architecture. And I joined at the very beginning at the inception of the company. I was the first full-time employee, and it was really, really interesting to see how such a small team and such a young team can work on such big projects. And it was all thanks to the fact that we were using AI in our work. So here, this project were Lake Bled Villas, which was the first project that I was the project lead for. And it was a set of luxury villas in Slovenia. And so we did all of the all of the planning, the 3D models, the ideation, the 3D models, and then the final renders. So what you see here is kind of like almost an AI sandwich of work, where we started with ideation with AI, going through a lot of options and iterations with the clients. Then we moved to your traditional 3D model, and then we did the final renderings, which you see here again, completely with AI.
And this is recognized officially. I think this is recognized as one of the first fully AI-driven architectural projects. At least
Yes.
I read about it this way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. For sure, to this level of integration of AI, both in the design process, in the optimization process of the design, and finally in the rendering. So to such an extent, definitely that was first project of its kind.
And what was the experience working on it?
It was again very exciting, also challenging for sure, because we were doing something that no one else has done before, and we had a lot of constraints. So I mean, I could show so much only about this project, because we had so many constraints by the local heritage, because it's a very highly restricted heritage site. We had a heritage building on site. I don't know if you see my mouse here.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So this is an existing building, which is the equivalent of Grade 1 listed building in Slovenia, designed by Jose Plečnik, who is a very famous Slovenian architect, and it was on our site. So of course we had to respect the design. We had a lot of restrictions, such as the slope of the roof had to be exactly the same. The materiality had to be very similar, and the overall design and language had to be very similar. But of course, we were designing for very high-end clients. It was meant to be a hospitality resort. So we wanted to, of course, offer this kind of future-forward feeling and look. In terms of the design of the villas. So it was quite challenging to do that also in the very beginning, when AI was still a bit more difficult to control compared to now. So it was, very exciting, but very challenging. I think we were very lucky with the clients, because they were very understanding and supportive of the process. So it was a great experience to work on it, for sure.
Speaks volumes for the clients that they paid so much attention to, the historical preservance of that villa, and to matching the new architecture to the villa. In Bulgaria, how it often is, there's like historical buildings and next to them something that absolutely doesn't match at all. It's called Bulgarian eclectic. You should Google it or just come visit Sofia. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. What do you remember?
Hmm.
What tools you used back then? Um,
Yeah, absolutely. So we used Midjourney a lot. And then we had our proprietary data at the time, and we trained the LoRa on a lot of photos of local buildings. So we had uh, uh, we went to site and we took photos of all of the famous buildings that are around the site, of all of the details, the materials, and kind of trying to study the overall forms and materiality used on site. And then we trained the LoRa based on that. And so we started iterating. So it was a very, very iterative process. I mean, here you see only the final images, but it was a very, very iterative process where we kind of took different elements from different ideas that we found, but that we thought would be successful, and we started thinking how they work together, and we were working across AI images in terms of visual direction, and then also we were looking at the plans and the sections in terms of spatial distribution, and we were doing everything simultaneously and kind of reiterating constantly the design until we got to the final point.
wow, really cool.
Yeah, so thank you. So everything is, which I'll show you a little bit later as well. Um, Everything happens with a lot of iteration. Nothing with AI that is good as a final result is just a prompt and an image output. It's just never like that. It's a lot of layers and layers um, of edits and work and putting everything together and kind of thinking. And this is where your intention and direction and judgment as a designer comes in and is seen through in the end of the day.
And
So
I
yeah,
see a completion is scheduled for
so
2027. So I assume, um, in the end, actual builders, not AI people, but also actual engineers and stuff are also on it right now.
yeah, well, we'll see. So I'm not sure how it's currently going. As unfortunately I'm not there anymore. Um, but yeah, it's supposed to it's supposed to be moving forward, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the idea is that the uh, then everything is taken into reality, and everything is designed to be built rather than just as an image. Um, so yeah, so this was kind of my starting point, joining Studio Tinfu and seeing how AI is used in real projects on big scale. And we did architecture, but we also did sorry, actually, there's this image as well where you can see again all of the villas from a different angle. So this is the existing one, and all of the other ones are the ones that we designed to complement it. And a really interesting, again, quite intentional design element were these arches, which it was an element that we found on site quite repeatedly on a lot of different villas in the area, that they have these external terraces, and we try to modernize that by turning it into an arch. But also, as a design decision, this allowed us to use the attic space and actually create it into a very luxury room rather than a very undesirable attic space with just a couple of windows, because now we managed to bring a lot more light into the space. And when you're at the top, you actually have the best views of the lake. So once again, this is just kind of one part of all of the all of the decisions that have been thought out throughout the design process.
And this was, so you had a 3D model, and this is like an AI, let's call it render, which is based off that 3D model.
Yes, exactly. So we had a complete detailed 3D model, and then these are even piece by piece done. Each individual viewer, we've worked on it a little bit more, rendering it with AI, and then putting them all together, and then doing the final finishes with with AI, kind of collating everything.
So what was the advantage of this render being done with AI over, let's say, classical render methods with the render engine, post-production, and all of that?
So it was much faster for sure. And I think we didn't have to bring, for example, any of the context really. It was just a quick image that we then very quickly managed to put together well together with AI, and then also the villas themselves. They were, I think, rendered quite quickly with a lot of realism, I think mainly in terms of light, as opposed to the traditional rendering, because otherwise, so at that stage, we didn't have the interior developed to a huge extent. We just had quite a basic geometry. So to us, it was much faster to do it this way. But of course, we're not professional visualizers as well. So maybe to a professional visualizer, it might have taken, would have been even faster to do it the traditional way. I don't know. But at least to us, to reach this quality and level of visualization with the level of model we had, it was much, much faster.
I understand. And there is a question from Amit from the comments. Was any post-production done using Photoshop or any other software, or is it only AI, what we see here?
Yes, there was post-production in Photoshop. So definitely once we gathered each and every image individually, then we put all the pieces together in Photoshop and did some final touches to make them blend together better.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much.
No worries. So then we also did urbanism. So this is something else which is a great example of the advantage of using AI in terms of visualization on an urban scale. Because I think on an architectural scale, once you have the 3D model in detail, it for someone who is a professional visualizer, it might be just as fast to do it to the let's say, quote, the traditional way as opposed to using AI. But on a huge scale, such as a master plan, we had much more advantage doing it with AI because we didn't. So this, what you see here and on the next image, none of it was 3D modeled. And again, this was done before Nano Banana existed. So now, if we were to do it now, the quality would be much better as well. So we were
It
able to
already
achieve.
is pretty good, though. I mean, but is it an idea, or is there, let's say, an architectural actual master plan or something? And if so, how consistent and how precise is this, let's say, AI generated image?
Yeah. So it is pretty consistent. So on a large scale, that's the thing. It's proving to be really, really useful on a larger scale. Because you can generate this whole idea of a master plan. You can then create a different angle of it, and very quickly now with Nano Banana and with another two which I'll show you, you can then start creating a lot of small moments, and suddenly you have a full project very, very quickly without opening a 3D model. So this is, I think, one of the main advantages using it for master planning and on larger scales to do the visualization with AI instead of the traditional way.
Wow,
Um,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I think definitely, and again, as I said before, that was done quite a while ago. So if we were to do it now, like all of these villas would have much more detail, and would be much higher quality in terms of, yeah, in terms of details, in terms of design. But I think at the time, what we managed to achieve within the timeframes, because I'm talking about 3 days, like 2, 3 days to start from nothing to a complete master plan with images of the different spaces of the different villas from different angles. And if you want, also a video of everything. And that's possible within 2, 3 days without any 3D modeling.
No, that's of course super impressive. I don't think that one can do something like this in 3D in 3 days. The question, of course, is why should something like this, which seems large scale and important, why should it be done in 3 days?
Mhm.
Or is it only the visual side which is done in 3 days, but the project itself is developed over months?
Yeah, very good question. Exactly. So I think when we're working on larger scale, the investors and the clients want to explore a lot of different options faster, and this is where the main benefit is, because they can explore a lot of different arrangements, a lot of different options in terms of how many units they want, how they want them distributed, for what purpose, where, and so on, and testing that visually helps to communicate with the clients much better when they see a visual image of the potential final development. And B, it's again, you don't have to 3D model all of the different options while you're still in the very early stages of exploration. Of course, once the project moves to the later stage of, okay, we're starting development, then uh, absolutely we need to go through a lot of considered decisions, as we did for the Lake Bled villas, a lot of considered decisions for circulation, for the space, location, which is something that actually Studio Tinfu is now exploring, optimizing with AI as well as a tool. But definitely there is a lot more than decision making in the later stages once the project is underway. But in the very early stages, when an investor is looking to develop something, but they don't really have a clear idea, it's extremely beneficial for them to see what is the potential. It's more about the potential, what are the possibilities, rather than the final product, the final design.
Totally agree. I mean, when it comes to exploring and you want to see something, instead of just endless plans and CAD drawings, and you just want to, get a vision of what could be, I think this definitely saves a lot of time. And actually, it makes a lot of sense to use it because, of course, 3 days isn't that much, even if this concept, let's say, isn't liked by the client and they want something else. At least they know what they don't like, and you didn't spend like months building it in 3D, rendering it, and all of that, only for the client to figure out that they don't like this.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the main benefit at the moment. This is where the most time is saved, and it makes the most sense to use it, for sure, at the moment.
Yeah. So supporting the ideation and exploration phases of a project.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then later on in the visualization, once you have the full 3D model, I think for a professional visualizer, it might be just as fast and as good to do it the traditional way as it would be with AI. But AI does give you another also level of realism if you need to. But I think the main benefit is definitely in the earlier stages before you have the 3D model, before you've spent all the hours to perfect everything inside the 3D model, to just explore a lot of different ideas. So yeah, I think that's definitely the main benefit.
Totally agree. And a great example for this, by the way.
Thanks. So yeah, the next example which I wanted to share is dialogue, because again, I mean, this is kind of flows from the previous one, where we're still thinking about the potential, about different options. So I did this post for Glasgow when unfortunately a fire happened next to the main train station and it burned down one whole building, which is quite a significant building in the city. And I just very quickly tested some ideas in terms of what it could be. It could be in this way, or it could be completely different. And it sparked a lot of conversation. And I think that's great on when we work on public projects, because we can very quickly understand the public's opinion, the public's intentions, wants, what they resonate with, what they don't, rather than imposing a design, which is quite a bottom-up approach, and I think more it's democratizing design in a way, because we're able to engage with the public a lot more than we were able to before. Because if you imagine doing that the traditional way without AI, you would have to build the whole 3D model. Can you imagine all of these lines like that takes days to build in Rhino, let's say, or Grasshopper, if you want to make these parametric, and then and then add the materials and then 3D render it finally. So we're talking about around 2 weeks time, let's say, or a week if you work all the time on this project. So and I did this in the span of around 4 or 5 hours, just because I had the idea, I had the intention, and yeah, and the idea here was that, for example, Glasgow has a lot of Art Deco, and I really like Rainy McIntosh from there, so it was kind of inspired by that style, but also trying to mimic the buildings next to it, but bring something new. And also, this was another entrance to the station, because the usual entrance is a bit hidden, but this is like a really nice square here. So it just added another entrance to the station and a little bit more kind of cafes and ground level space that could be part of the station. So that was just an idea, and it had a lot of different opinions, but it was great to see. I think it was great to see that that level of engagement of the public for a project that is quite significant for them.
So first of all, it's pretty cool. But this is obviously subjective matter. I like it. I see here Tom Grimes, the Corona manager, who I think Tom, are you initially from Glasgow? He says, "Oh yeah, I remember this fire. I think it was some unlicensed vape shop."
Yes.
Sorry, the comment is gone. A licensed vape shop that the fire started in and did enormous damage to this historic building. But also, going back to what you said in the very beginning, Tom is from Aberdeen. Okay, sorry for that. Going back to the very beginning, where you said that people should just put out, their work out there, and not think too much about if it's perfect or not. I think if you take a look at this from a marketing perspective, right? Your own marketing. It's a hot topic. Obviously, this fire happened and it's a bad thing, but it happened and it's on everybody's mind. And you react to it with this project, you put it out there. People are searching for this topic right now, so they will come across your work and you as an artist and as an architect. And this will obviously bring you new followers. This will bring you popularity. So just looking at it from a marketing perspective, doing something like this for a couple of hours can actually add a lot of value to you as an artist, as a designer, as an architect, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, you've spotted it quite well. I was thinking about that as well, of course, because it was a hot topic. I mean, for me, because so my boyfriend is actually originally from Glasgow. And so we were talking about the fire, and he told me, but why don't you do something about it? Come on, like you can use AI, you can create a new concept and just do it. So actually he inspired me, he pushed me to do it. And then I thought, yeah, of course, why not? That would be brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. That's perfect time to create something like that. And it did have very positive incomes in terms of marketing, for sure. So that helped a lot for my work to be recognized. Even some local newspapers published it as an option, and again, of course, like it was a very quick idea, very quick turnout. Of course, if you start to really work on this project and design it completely, it will change. It will change a lot, and you will have a lot more considered decisions, and so on and so on. But it's just a proof of concept. It's just a proof of what's possible, and yes, and a good marketing tool for sure.
Of course. And let's be honest, if we do it like, say, the classical way when it comes to architecture, you will also have let's say, some drawn concept and stuff which you start precising, and it will change over time, to adapt to reality. So this is not something which is, let's say, exclusive to AI, that it changes over time. Every concept changes from the initial draft. But yeah, good for you and your boyfriend. This was a great advice from him, and exactly what you said. This being published in the newspaper, this gives you the type of publicity, and it's so great for your own marketing of your own brand. So take those chances, my friends. We also already saw something like this with Notre Dame. After the fire, many artists just jumped in, came up with ideas, and of course, all the newspapers, magazines started picking them up, sharing them, and this is how you get popularity. So you got to be smart too. That's the end. I mean, but I have a question.
Yeah, yeah.
From Irakli, who says, can Rada clearly explain how it is done, in which AI, and just prompt or with sketch reference?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was done as a mix between Midjourney and Nano Banana. And so actually, did I? No, I didn't do sketches for this one. So I quite often also use Sketch, but for this one specifically, no, I didn't. And it started with I always most of the times I start with Midjourney, even to this day. And this is what I wanted to talk about later, because I think a lot of people now have rejected Midjourney and moved on from it, which I understand why, because I would have expected much better improvements from it. I was quite disappointed that they haven't really pushed it any further. But still, for me, it's still to this day one of the best ones for just ideation in terms of design. Because Midjourney, because Nano Banana is great for execution, but it is not that creative. And even with a very, very detailed prompt, you can get too much from it. So what I started is I got into Midjourney. I got some references from Rainy McIntosh's work, actually. So I got some ironwork references. Then I got some references of stone. And I started, I did an edit. I got an image with Google Maps and AI of this location, and then with the edit tool in Midjourney, I started circling through different options. And then I moved to Nano Banana Pro to start becoming more realistic, because Midjourney was giving me some interesting ideas, which I picked some details from, but then it was just a bit out of scale and it wasn't realistic. So then I moved to Nano Banana Pro to then get a bit more level of realism. And then I did the final views of the different angles with Nano Banana Pro.
How did you
So that
manage
was the
to
workflow.
keep the consistency throughout the 3 images?
With a lot of edits. These two were pretty easy because Nano Banana Pro now does a pretty good job. So I just said, create a different angle from the front showing the kind of the elevation of this building. And I think it did it pretty much straight away. And I just had to upscale it. So I do the upscaling with Magnific. So I upscaled it, but that was pretty easy. And then this one was also with Nano Banana, where I asked it to create a ground level view with people with some suitcases. And then I just had to fix some of the people and make them more realistic. And I did that with Photoshop.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for those tips. Also, thank you from Irakli as well. There is a pretty
Yes.
much an ode to you from Luis Hernandez in the comments. I won't read it all, but it's superlative over superlative, and rightfully so, very deserved. I agree with everything. I won't read it all here, but make sure to check the comments of the live session afterwards and see what Luis thinks about you. He seems to really, really love you.
Will
I
do.
love your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you. I'll definitely check it. So then I wanted to move on into concepts. So these again are kind of similar. So one is this dialogue where you want to get a bit more engagement from the wider community when you're working on a public project. And then here it's more on private projects. So AI now gives you the perfect opportunity to start working on concepts and projects that you like yourself. And this particular one was a proof of concept for me. So I just did that again with Midjourney. So Midjourney to get this base image and design with some edits afterwards, and then this image from the top with Nano Banana Pro, and I share it. I shared it again on my Instagram, and then I got quite a few people that messaged me, kind of wanting to build this villa. So again, like this is what I'm talking about in terms of just putting your work out there, and people will reach out to you, and it's amazing what Instagram does for younger people and for smaller businesses, because you can really get recognized for your work, and you can work on the projects that you want to be working on. So here is a concept that I shared of a villa that I would love to design for someone, and then suddenly someone wants to build it, you know? So yes, I
Amazing.
think
But that's and you can, because you are a chartered architect, part of the Royal British Architects Association or whatever it was. I screwed up the name.
Yeah.
But how do you have a marketing strategy on Instagram? Because in the very beginning, Instagram used to be just a platform for sharing images. In the meantime, it's like a marketing platform. Do you have a strategy? Because there are lots of beautiful, images generated with AI, or let's say concepted and designed with AI, that we see, but not all of them get, kind of seen by the wider audience. So how come people saw yours? Is it that your design is so much better, do you think? Or is it because you have, let's say, a strategy?
Yeah, very good question. Well, so I think it's a mix of a lot of things. So in terms of strategy, I do try to follow kind of a few main pillars, but I don't always do it. I definitely want to be posting a lot more work, explaining a bit more about my process, but it genuinely is quite difficult to create this kind of content because the process is very intuitive, and it's just based on a lot of intuitive decision making. It's not really a formula per se. Um, but a few of my strategies are to post things that look viable in terms of design, so that they look buildable and they look realistic. And I am following my design language, which is so it's one part just the visual, and then it's another part kind of my company values and things that I want to be working towards. But visually, my designs are always kind of inspired by organic forms and by nature. And I always want to make sure that the designs fit well into the place. Now, of course, there is a difference between a concept that you just put on Instagram and the amount of time and consideration you spend on that, and the amount of time and consideration you spend on an actual project once you start working on it, and once you start considering all the constraints of an architecture project. But with concept for Instagram, there's a few main principles that I follow. Really, it's one, to be a good ratio for Instagram. So I mostly post 4:5 or 9:16. I do have a few 16:9 posts, which were just because it worked much better for the image, but I try to avoid it. Definitely, when you post in 4:5 ratio or 9:16 ratio, it works better for Instagram. And then I try to do a mix of my the concept ideas on different scales. So sometimes it's a more aerial, sometimes it's a moment. It's about the story, the person who inhabits the space. I definitely want to grow my company also into hospitality, and trying to build the full narrative and the story of the feeling that you want to experience in a place. So it's not just about the form, but it's about how people inhabit the space and how they feel, and what is that journey of the client. And that is also quite now easy to do with AI, because you can create a consistent character. So this is something that I'm kind of now starting to do more of, which I've done more for clients, but not really for social media. So I'll soon be doing more of that. But um, in terms of pillars as well, I try to balance something that is educational and something that is just a concept and design. And why do they get noticed? I think it's a mix of already the exposure that I have. So the more exposure you have, the easier every other post is to get noticed, of course.
Of course.
But you just have to be consistent until one post captures enough attention. Like, for example, this image on the right, it was just one image, and I made that experiment. It was quite intentional. I just wanted to see, okay, because now we just have this overload of so many images and videos, and the more you post, the like everyone is fighting for people's attention on Instagram. So then I thought,
Yes.
okay, well, let me actually just post one image and see what happens. And it's one of the best performing images of the latest I don't know, however many images I've posted. So I think it's also, you just have to experiment. You just have to experiment and see what works for you, what works for your style, for your intention, and target the clients that you want to attract. So I try, and I haven't done too many of these, but I want to do more. I try to talk to the client that I want to attract rather than to another architect.
And what happened when those people, saw this post of yours and they reached out and they were like, build this for me? What happened next?
Well, we shall see. They just reached out, so
Oh, you're in the process of it.
so
That's interesting.
yes,
So,
yes, it is.
well, fingers crossed, first of all. And secondly, um, I saw that like almost
Yeah.
every scene of yours, like if it's, let's say, this type of villas, they always feature at least, mostly actually, one person walking around. Is the person there for scale, for storytelling, or is the person there to, like a trademark of yours, like Fernando Guerra always having this one person walking through his photos?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's both well, all of the three, all of the above, I think. So as I said, I think it's important to tell the story of the person who inhabits the space. So for me, the space is a lot about the people and how the space makes them feel. So that's why I do like to have a person, and also for scale, and also for attention, because people just like looking at people. This is almost 90% of the time. The first thing you notice is the person in the image. And it's proven, it's psychologically proven that people just like to look at other people's faces, or so I think a figure is also um a good way to attract attention into a design.
Yeah, I, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. In your case, especially with this villa, the person isn't distracting because what you just said, it's psychologically proven, like scientifically proven, that people first look at the people, which in some of the recent examples that I see, especially for interiors, since AI is a thing and we started including more people in interiors, has been kind of, contradictory, or it's not really always a great thing because the people end up being distracting, and instead of focusing on, let's say, the architecture, the design, you end up focusing on what people in it are doing, which up to a certain degree could be good, storytelling and all, but it can also be over the top and really distracting.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right.
But
It's good to find the right balance. I'm not sure if I've found the right balance yet, but I think definitely, for example, if a person is blurred and walking, I think that's quite a nice detail that you can achieve with Midjourney directly, and it's yeah, it's kind of a nice addition, but it's not attracting too much attention.
yeah, especially in this scale, it's fantastic. And once again, the topic of scale. Sometimes you see a villa like this, and obviously there are pieces of furniture that give you a bit of a hint of the scale. But having an actual person is always way more helpful and a quicker way to do that. There is a question by Louis. He says, so from a marketing standpoint, you're priming your content to maximize impact and reach. How granular do you get with metrics?
Uh, how granular? Not really at the moment. I mean, I think for me, at the moment, I'm trying to test a few different things and experiment with the kind of content that I post and with the kind of designs that I post. So I am quite intentional with the actual design work that I do, but I'm less intentional with with the content and with what I put, because I think it's good to experiment. And I think the data in terms of how many views and likes and so on, it gives you a good indication in terms of what what is preferred, what is liked. But I wouldn't stick to it 100% and then only post that kind of content. I think with Instagram, you just need to try a lot of variations and be consistent and just see what works. And I think the data gives you a good indication of what's working and what's not working. But it shouldn't discourage you if it takes a little while for something to get noticed. And at the same time, if something gets so much attention, it doesn't mean that everything else that you post should be just for that. Because, for example, I'm building a brand, so I want to post a little bit of the kind of the process of how clients can reach out to me, but also then the concepts and the designs, but then also building something on site. So not everything is gonna get the same amount of attention, and not everything is Instagram friendly, if I can quote it in this way, but it's important for the brand, for example. So yes, I think it's always a balance. And I wouldn't get too stuck on the metrics.
Yeah, great advice.
Great questions. So yeah. Oh, can you hear? Oops, this is a bit loud. I don't know if the music is going through. But this is another example of concept. So I created this with again Midjourney, Nano Banana, and then this video was done with Dance from all of these images. So Dance just I just put all of these images, and then Dance kind of combine them together into a holistic video, which again is quite a quick example of what could be done. Of course, you can go then into so much more cinematics and so many more details, and you can show a lot more close-up images, and you can take it really really further. This was just another quicker experiment of what can be possible um, to be done with this kind of workflow. And I think this is again great for the clients and also for Instagram for content, because for the client you can produce this kind of idea and concept for the plot in terms of showing them what is the potential of their plot, what is the potential of the space that you want to create. um, but then if you get down into the nitty gritty of design and details, of course, you're going to start noticing quite a lot of different mistakes and things that can be corrected. But I think that's not really the point. The point is to let go of that obsession with perfection, as I said earlier, and just start experimenting with what is possible and what you could create.
Yeah. So you don't care that much about inconsistencies and stuff like this. What counts more is the final impact.
Yes, I think so. In the beginning, at least for me, I care a lot about details on once I work on the project with the client, of course. So it's almost like I treat them as two separate things. So once I work on a project with the client, I care about every detail. I care about the experience that the client has with me. I care about how the project is led and so on and so forth. But when I share something on my social media, when I share an idea, when I create, I am a little bit more free. And of course, I care about the overall vision, which has to be strong and it has to be in fact impactful, and it has to be well curated and so on and so forth. But um, I don't spend endless amounts of hours to fix all these details that probably no one will really notice on the big scale, on the grand scale of things.
Yeah, I can totally
Um,
imagine. There there is a question here from Riverside, which is, "Hi Rada, do you go as far as deciding on what outputs you get in terms of curated furniture and interior light sources?"
Yes. For example, for this one, I did, even though it was a quick concept. Now this is gonna go a bit against what I just said, but of course, I care to a certain level in terms of the overall design. So, for example, a lot of people have a workflow where they will just get uh, the villa, let's say the villa exterior from Midjourney, and then you can just prompt for Nano Banana to give you the interior of this villa, and it could be as simple as give me the luxury interior of this villa and so on and so forth. And you describe a little bit of the materials and the furniture, and it will be okay, but it wouldn't be to the same level of quality that I want. So then, for example, for this villa, I actually prompted Nano Banana to give me the rough geometry because of course, so Midjourney is not quite consistent or not consistent at all really with the geometry. So if I tell it, you can't really tell Midjourney, give me the interior of this villa. It just wouldn't do it. So I get Nano Banana to give me the framework of the geometry so that it's roughly consistent. But then I use Midjourney for the actual interior and furniture because it gives me a lot more interesting options from which I can choose and I can edit. Like for example, this bedroom, the bed is already kind of in quite an interesting shape. And when I had originally prompted it with Nano Banana, it was quite a standard design. I mean, it's quite subtle differences to explain without the images. I should maybe I can try and find some, but it will be difficult now. But also with the lighting, for example, here, the original lighting that was given to me by Nano Banana was quite banal. And then I just edited it with some references for lights in Midjourney and then made it more realistic with Nano Banana. So for me, it's a constant back and forth between creative and designed and then being realistic with Nano Banana because you kind of have to go in between the two to get the right balance between design and realism.
Yeah, it seems like this. I wanted to also summarize it here. It seems like you search for ideas and creativity on Midjourney, but when it comes to something solid, something realistic looking, then you go for Nano Banana.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, and then so this is the kind of the exterior, which was from Midjourney. And now I wanted to talk a little bit more about interior design as well. And this is the current project that I'm working on right now, which is currently under construction. So I can't show much of it, unfortunately. But it's very, very exciting because we're producing almost everything bespoke. All of these elements here that you can see, I've designed with AI and they're now being produced. So this is, for example, the living room where you can see this partition wall and the door, and they were all inspired by one concept, which is the peacock. So the clients wanted the villa to be inspired by a peacock. And I try to abstract the idea of a peacock into different architectural and design elements that are repetitive in a way, but they also create variations. So, for example, the different doors, they're echoing of that same idea, but they all have their own kind of character and a bit of variation. So this is also from the same project where I think a lot of the time we hear just can you just fix this with AI? Like, can you just do something like quickly edit it and quickly fix it? But what I actually do is I'm fixing things through design. So every decision is intentional. So, for example, the bed frame here, the back of it, you kind of have these two ears that are poking out because the requirement was for these beds to be able to separate and be put together. So then you have the bed frame at the back, but then you have these two elements that kind of go above it, and it doesn't really work. So this design decision was an iteration made with Midjourney, but it was quite intentional because you see beautiful mountains in the background. So this is kind of an echo of that. It's an echo of the mountains. And then you can very easily, you have these elements, and even if you separate them and if you move them, it still feels quite holistic. Um,
And it
and
fits, the pattern of the marble. It fits the arch at the back.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. These were the other subtle details of the bed to kind of bring that color of the marble from the back, the rainbow onyx. So yeah, again, like you can use AI, but this is the backstory behind it. So this is what the client saw on the left-hand side, the four different options of the bed. And on the right-hand side is what I export. And it just keeps going. um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
these were lots of
so
credits
yeah. And that's just for the bed.
just for the pet. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so this is my point. It's kind of when you use AI as a design tool, and when you get to the end of it, a lot of people talk about ownership of the design, and that's a topic that comes again and again. But I think that in the end of the day, when I get to the final design that I present, I really feel like it is my creative direction. Because it's a lot of decisions that have been made. It's a lot of small edits. It's just like it's just like using Pinterest as an inspiration, sketching something, then editing it, then modeling it, and so on. But it's just a different type of process that you go through to get to the final result.
Yeah, on those iterations, we can see that, obviously the decision making is a big part of it. It's not like you just prompted something, AI spit it out, and you were like, oh, okay, let's take this, let's run with it. Instead, it seems like you were, actually eh, looking at what happens to on the right side. This one would have actually been easier in 3D.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
people are obviously here in the comments are looking at the amount of iterations that you've gone through there, and are of course talking about the topic of credits. Do you actually uh, pay per iteration, or do you use some type of annual subscription? That, let's say, for example, with FreePic, what is now Magnific, for, let's say, Nano Banana 2, you have unlimited iterations in 2K, for example, which of course kind of limits the amount of credits that you spend. Or how is it on the technical side, if you're comfortable
Yeah,
talking about it, of
yeah,
course?
sure. So I do have subscriptions for a lot of the softwares, like monthly subscription, usually the Pro plan. Like for example, the Midjourney, I have the Pro plan. Nano Banana Pro I use on Google from uh, Google Studio. And yeah, and I've left my card there. And actually, So I produce a lot of the images in Google Studio because it actually uses less credits than, for example, if I do it in Higgsfield. So because I use Higgsfield a lot for other things as well. And for example, I do a lot of my main iteration directly in Google AI Studio, and I never do it in 2K. So that's another tip. Because if you do it directly in 2K, first of all, I've noticed that it changes a little bit more of the things, but second of all, the quality is actually not as good as if you were to do it in 1K and then upscale it.
That's
So
some awesome tip here.
nice. Yeah, I think definitely I do almost everything in 1K because even if I do it in 2K, there's always some imperfections that I want to fix with Magnific anyway. So I'm gonna upscale it anyway. And upscaling with Magnific, when it's also lower resolution, it's also better for Magnific, giving you better results. So yes, a tip is to not use 2K on Nano Banana Pro.
And it's cheaper, of course.
Yeah, and it's cheaper. Yeah.
There is a question by Amit here, which is, have you used ComfyUI or Stable Diffusion, Tide Diffusion, some of these?
Yes, so we use them a lot in the beginning at Studio Tinfu, and I have used them, but I think currently just the process for me wasn't as productive because ComfyUI is better for when you have to do rendering. So actually, I think in a lot of people on the go who are involved in rendering, ComfyUI will be better. And also, for example, I would suggest using Gendo if you haven't tried it. I think for visualizers it's pretty good because Ismail Obsolete, who is awesome, and he's done a lot of work in with AI and with ComfyUI. He's now leading their team for I think for I think he's head of development. Not sure what the title is, but I know he's on the team, and I've tried the tool recently, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty good for visualization. It gives you enough. It gives you enough opportunity to edit some small parts. But yeah, so I think for visualization, ComfyUI and tools like that, like Gendo, are really good. But because I use AI a lot also for design and for ideation, I find the workflow that I've created outside of ComfyUI more useful for me.
Thanks for this. By the way, I shared Gendo AI already. It was new to me. I didn't know it, admittedly, but yeah, it shared. Let's try it out. It says AI rendering for architecture. Sounds good for us.
Yeah.
Many of us do
Yeah.
artists. So yeah,
Yeah. And
thanks
it's
for
been
all the
trained
tips.
on a lot of good models. So definitely try it out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. By the way, Nigel is here. He says I'm using both right now. I think he's referring to ComfyUI and Stable Diffusion. But just so you know, he's here. And he was so excited to have you, to know that you'll be here today. And rightfully so. From what we're seeing, it's fantastic. We even have some background music. I don't know if you hear it, but we do. I'm dancing a little. The
Sorry.
recording will be awkward as hell, but it doesn't matter.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. Sorry about
No, you
that.
don't have to be sorry. We need to improvise. We are, this is a very laid back and very casual get together. What counts is what you're saying, what you're telling us, everything you're sharing, and not, your camera image, the quality of it. And so, I mean, we'll have a good recording in the end. This is what counts. But during the live session, it's a live session. Life happens. But yeah, we have some background music. It's not bothering too much right now. At least chat, tell me if you're bothered by it. I can wonderfully deal with it. But yeah, as somebody is saying here, unfortunately, I cannot read your name, mate. On Riverside, he says, I am enjoying this cafe vibe. I do love it. And yeah, me too. So let's continue, please.
Great. Well, you guys can enjoy the cafe music. Hopefully, it's good. Okay. So then again, I mean, a next example of this, again, in terms of intentional decision making when you're doing design with AI, is this. So here, kind of what the problem is with this space is that it's very monotone. Everything is kind of the same color. There isn't really depth or anything that kind of attracts your attention in the space and holds it. And it also feels quite cold, given that this is the bedroom where you're supposed to feel cozy and it's supposed to be a bit more lit down and so on. So this was the
So much better.
thank you. So this is the proposed design where uh, we have some straw marquetry here and on the wardrobe, and the same stone as it's on the fireplace, and some bespoke pieces by different designers. So, I mean, again, the brief was to change as little as possible, but make some changes and improve how the space feels. So, again, this was done with AI, but it was done in quite an intentional way through different iterations, in the much same way as the ones you saw before. Lots and lots of them. And this is also sharing kind of the again the workflow that we go through with the client. So this is just a mirror board that we have, and it's all gone again through a lot of different iterations, a lot of different options, comments, to get to a stage of design and production. So working with AI, it's it's quite similar to the traditional way. It just gives you more options to explore and to show to the clients, and mainly to communicate with the clients much faster and much easier, which I think was the most important thing for me, is that we were instantly on the same page with the clients, and they understand what I mean. It's not just a sketch, because a lot of the time, like, we understand the sketch, we know what's in our head, and we tell the clients, well, trust me, it'll be good. Trust me, I'll make it beautiful. But in the beginning of the design, the client is not really sure, how it's going to look in the end. And they don't really understand it until they see the final visualizations. But now we're on the same page from the very beginning. And this has its risks too, to be fair. It has its risks, because then the clients are saying, well, we want it exactly like this. But I think it's always about managing expectations, and saying that, okay, this is a very realistic looking render, but it's still an AI idea and it's AI design, and you should treat it just like a sketch. So treat it like a very, very realistic sketch. And it is going to change because of the different constraints that are on the site, and the different constraints of the design, and the different decisions that we make along the process. But it has definitely improved the communication that I have with the clients.
Managing expectations was a big one. Can you please go back for a second? Because I think, my friends, what we see here is actually my proof of why I don't think that clients will start doing it on their own. Because just look at this. And if you think, well, this is because she's an architect and designer, well, you probably remember the episode with Daniel Diaz de Castillo from Metrica, who showed us the behind the scenes of an animation, which looked pretty much like this. So you need that person that controls all of this, manages the expectation, leads the project. You need those people, and depending on the scale of the projects, it's oftentimes more than one person. It's more people. So I don't think that clients will be eager to do that, because that's a ton of work, assisted by AI or not, with real-time rendering or not. It's still a ton of work, and you need a professional to be able to do it. So I love seeing this, because I hope that it shows you, yes, our workflows are changing. Yes, AI is a part of it, and it most likely makes sense to integrate it in your workflow, like it or not. But to replace it with this one button AI solution, I don't think this will be the thing. Just look at this, and we're talking about somebody who uses a lot of the advantages of AI, and still the mood boards look pretty much the same. But as Rada
Yeah.
said, the communication is now easier, which also has its tricky parts, because of course, if you overpromise with AI in the beginning and you cannot deliver, you have an issue. For Rada, however, she's smart, so she does architecture and design. So she has a design studio. So even if she comes up with, let's say, some furniture which is crazy and doesn't exist, she can then go to Rada Daleva design and just create this piece of furniture too, which is thinking ahead, and a smart businesswoman we have here.
Thank you. But yeah, no, very well said. I think that's definitely it. That the clients always need that person that they can trust to do the work, because yes, they can do a quick render of the space and change something, which my clients have done as well. And it's scary to receive it at the first place, but then actually, I think it's actually great, because suddenly the client feels way more involved into the design process, and they feel like they know what they're getting. But they should trust you as a professional, and they would want, at the end of the day, someone to execute it and do it better. Because I think there is a different level at which you can do it. So if you're as a client, you test the tools, it looks pretty good for you. It does the job in terms of you wanted to explain your idea to your professional, and it's perfect for that purpose. But then in terms of realizing it, it's a different story. And also the level of the rendering itself is quite different as well, when a professional has done it and when it's just very quickly done. But yeah, I think it shouldn't even scare you if the clients suddenly start using it, because it will happen. It happened to me, and I think it happens more and more nowadays.
Yes,
um,
definitely. We have some questions. A question
mhm.
by Nigel, which is, what tools do you use for design work? Rhino, SketchUp, Revit, or your own AI tools?
So SketchUp and Revit. Oh, SketchUp. What? No, Rhino, Rhino and Revit. So yeah, so I mainly use Rhino because all of the designs that I do are a bit more organic, and it's great for me to be able to 3D model them in Rhino and do the 3D models and the main drawings. And then when I had to do the more kind of detailed drawings, I then moved to Revit and and do the technical drawings in Revit.
And another question by Mukhtar. He asks, how do you strike a balance between being an architect and being a creative who harnesses the power of AI?
A really good question.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Well, I think it's one is discipline. But two is I think it's always been kind of part of me, to be fair. I've always been that kind of person that is creative. I used to go to art classes. I've always been quite creative myself, but I've also always my dad runs a business, so he's always talked to me about business and running your business, and I always had that idea in my head that I want to have my own studio, my own business. And even before starting my studio now, I had tried a couple of different startups that didn't go as well, but also they were not quite related to what my specialty is in, so makes sense. Um, but I think I kind of, yeah, so I always had that entrepreneurial mindset and spirit inside me, and I know, and I do care about growing a business. I do care about managing it, also the financials, marketing. So all these things I actually find quite interesting to look at. And then I've I've been a creative person myself, so that's what actually is enjoyable. Like actually makes me happy doing the creative work. But yeah, I think it is a tricky balance to strike for sure, but also very enjoyable. I think mainly the freedom that it gives you to do that at your own terms.
Yeah, fantastic answer, by the way. And it's absolutely visible that you enjoy the whole process, not only the creation, but also the business side. And good for you, I gotta say. I don't enjoy the business side as well. Yeah.
Ah, thank you. Um, yeah, so we spoke about this, and then actually, in the end, I'll show you more about actually the process as well, the business side of things. Something I've quickly done with AI. But before that, it's the production. So as I said in the project, everything is bespoke, and everything that I've designed, we're now producing. So this is the partition wall, which started from the idea of the peacock, then into through a lot of iterations into a design with AI, abstracting that for, and then so we tested 3D printing it and fabricating it. Now we've moved on to actually cutting it with water jet from aluminium. And then we'll metallize it. And we'll, in the end, insert these little pieces of jewelry of stone inside it so that it becomes a truly, truly unique and bespoke piece. And we are doing that also for the doors. So as I showed you a couple of them, they're all kind of bespoke design, all following the same idea, but being different in the different spaces. And this is another part of the production process. So these are the door handles for this door, which are again the same stone as this one, which is a Patagonia green stone, really, really beautiful. And these are samples of the doors, which we are currently producing. So yeah, very exciting. I can't really show anything else from the site, but hopefully it will be completed soon, and I'll share the how it turns out on my social media.
Please do, and gladly come to the campus and share there as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do that. That'd be great. Um, yeah, and finally, when I mentioned the operations and the business side of things, I'm currently developing this tool for myself, for my business. This is just an example of the example projects, and I'm doing it with Claude code. So this is still kind of like an early prototype, which I'm now updating. But I'm able to keep track, and I want to be able to keep track in one place of all of my task, my finances, how the studio is growing, the content, and so on and so forth. Like you can take this as far as you want. But I'm just kind of starting because I think it's really, really useful to have a bespoke operational system for yourself, for your studio. So that's another use case for AI, to use it on the back end. And develop bespoke tools that you'll use for yourself. And now we can do that really easily with Claude. So definitely test as much as you can and test all your crazy ideas with Claude. It's really fun, above all.
So vibe coding is also a part of what you do now.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the comment here by Daniel, wow, this woman is a whole army. Amazing what AI is enabling. But this is great because you have the passion, you have the creativity, you love what you do, and then here we go. And then AI is there to support you and to make it possible for you to do what you love and as much of it as possible, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, of course. It definitely has enabled me to do so much more than I wouldn't have been able to before it. And I wouldn't even think about doing what I'm doing right now. If you ask me, when I was a student even in my first year of masters, that in 3 years time I will have my own company and I will be producing bespoke elements for a full project, I would never think that this would be possible. So yeah, it's really given me an incredible opportunity, that I'm very very glad for.
but we shouldn't forget, AI is there for everyone. It's available to everyone. Right now, it's still affordable to most people, but not everyone is doing like Rada. So at the end of the day, it's not the AI, it's a person that knows how and when to use it to their advantage. Let's agree on this, please. And
Thank you. Yeah, no, it is true because all of the tools I'm using are available. I mean, at Studio Tinfu, we were doing some proprietary tools, but even so, we are also using a lot of the tools that are available to the public. And I'm currently using tools available to the public, although I am training my own kind of LoRa's on my style and taste and so on, which also using Midjourney is really, really important. So this is the one thing that I wanted to show, but I don't know how much time we have or people have, to show a bit of
we
live
have
demo.
time.
I can also just be very fast because I think I just wanted to show a few main things. Can you see my screen now?
So I'll make the screen big again. Let me see. Yeah, everything is clearly visible, clearly readable. Yeah, people are enjoying it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so it's just a few things that I wanted to share because I think a lot of people are not, a lot of people, when they test Midjourney, they don't really go and use it to its fullest extent, because there's just a few small tricks that you need to know to be able to kind of level up a little bit the results that you're getting. So one of the main things is the mood boards. I have created a lot of mood boards for myself, and every mood board has kind of something slightly different, and they're all with very high quality images, and visuals. So that's one thing that I always use in my prompts, and I think not many people really use that. But for me, it makes a huge difference in the results that I get. So definitely I encourage you, if you have a specific style and direction, like for example, these cinematic images, you can see they're more kind of moments playing with light. These are more kind of render type of style, bigger spaces. This is more about natural stone and interiors and so on and so on. So I highly encourage you to start creating your mood boards with really high quality images to use as inspiration. And the next thing is, of course, the personalization. I mean, I think probably most of you are using the personalization, but I just want to show you kind of the difference in terms of the results, because I've worked a lot on the personalization, and I've really rated quite a lot of images, which helps the result become more realistic. So this was just kind of a concept that I had of a luxury resort in Kenya, showing some kind of giraffes, and then the building in the background and an aerial view. Now, none of these are perfect, because I wanted to kind of select a few just to explain to you, to show you again real time the process, because I wouldn't take any of these images directly and post it on my Instagram, although it looks fine, but none of these I'm really happy with. For example, okay, this one is pretty nice, but then the giraffe is in the way, so immediately, like, I would edit it and so on and so forth. So this is your, again, judgment as a visualizer, as an also as an artist, to be able to frame the view well and make these decisions in terms of what you want to show. Now, this immediately, kind of one decision makes a difference, and now it's a bit more clear. But anyway, what I wanted to show is that, first of all, I always have the prompt, which is this one is a bit longer, but still it's not super long. It's always just some keywords in terms of what I want to have, like the aerial view, bespoke furniture. I do have blurred nature somewhere in the foreground. Yeah, nature blurred in the foreground, which I think gives it this nice effect for the
Cinematic
framing.
framing.
Yeah, cinematic framing. So it's all keywords. It's not super long. For example, I think a lot of people get ChatGPT to write a prompt for Midjourney, and I find that the prompts that ChatGPT writes, or Claude, are not really what works well in Midjourney. It's what works well in Midjourney is more straight to the point, like a word salad, because every word makes a difference in a way, in some ways, in little ways, but it still does. So you don't really need any too many unnecessary words. And then the next thing is that I always have image references, always. So even though I have the board, so I have the mood board, I have the personalization on. So if I switch off the personalization and I take away the board, no, sorry, I keep these, but I take off the images. That's what I wanted to do. It will still not be as good of a result because the Midjourney, although it will be better than without anything, which is what I'll show you in a second. But the images give really good context for Midjourney, and it's visual based tool. So what I'm showing it is, okay, I want something that is a facade of a hotel. This one I picked a bit earlier because I kind of wanted a little bit more of these arches. But it's not picking them so well, although it's picking the stone here. And then here in the style, it's the overall style and visual of the image, which is that I wanted this kind of color balance. and I wanted this lighting. So I always experiment with a few different things because it's not a direct recipe. You never know exactly which elements it will pick. So that's why I experiment. If I remove this one and I leave just this image, and so on. But as a general rule, you always want to have a few images in the direction that you're looking for, in the terms of style of image, in the scale, and the lighting and the materials. You always want to have references for these, as well as the mood boards and the prompt. So now, to show you the difference. So this was with the images and this is without, which now we become a lot more crazy architecture. I mean,
Yes.
okay, maybe you can get something cool from it, but immediately you can see the difference between, okay, these look realistic, these looks like Midjourney.
Yeah.
So
The previous ones are way more curated, way more visually guided. Can you refer to aspects of your references? Can you say from reference one take the arches, from reference two take the lighting, from reference three take the whatever?
unfortunately not, at least not that I know of. You can you used to be able to put weights on the image. So you weight the image, the different images. That I used to do when it was back in Discord, on Discord. But now with like, if you want to use the latest version, which is the 8.1, you don't really have that option. The other things to be aware of when using Midjourney, of course, these parameters. I mean, I'm not gonna give like a full course on Midjourney, but just like very quickly that the difference between using high stylization and low stylization is huge. If you have and it high stylization means that it has more of the Midjourney style. So if I remove all of the images and if I remove all that and put like very high stylization, you see what happens. And then if I take a step further and I have a high stylization and I also remove my personalization code. So I remove my personalization code. I have no images and I have high stylization. It will be, so here we have the high stylization, but with my profile, which is trained on quite realistic images. So that's why you
Yeah, so
have
your
the
personalization is still turned
design.
on.
Yeah, so my personalization is on. The design is, you can say what it is, but it's at least the images are realistic, kind of well composed. I think the lighting is overall balanced.
Yeah.
This
Oh, yeah.
is is high stylization without my personalization code and with the same prompt and kind of not really changing anything. So I think these are a few kind of overall tips that I can give from my workflow that are really important when you do design with Midjourney. And now if we're to select, okay, let's say this image, just to take it one step further. So now we already fixed the giraffe that was in the way. Of course, we can then, if we look into the details, I think this person looks a bit too off because it's too white, and so on. But we can, yeah, we don't need to go into that much detail. But if I copy this, I can immediately do two things. So one is I go to Google AI Studio and I create an aerial view. actually of this luxury resort. Show the full building within the beautiful. Okay. So as simple as that, we can keep it 16:9 for now. And so we can try and get a different angle. And also I use a lot Higgs fields, Higgs field shots. So Higgs field shots. Which is great at giving you more different angles and views and more moments. So if I put the image here,
Have you tried alternatives to Higgs field, or did you try it in the beginning and you just, sticking with it till now?
So just in terms of Higgs field shots, I'm sticking with it because I think it's a great balance between how creative it is in terms of giving me the different angles. And specifically for shots, it's not that expensive, but it gives me a lot of options. So I think it's a great deal. I've tried a few different ones, but I haven't I I haven't found something that I like better. But if you have any recommendations, absolutely, I'd be happy to try.
I don't know about recommendations. I personally use what used to be FreePic and is Magnific now, and I'm happy with it. But I don't know if it's better or not. It's just what I use.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Magnific is great. I use Magnific all the time for upscaling. But I use this one for getting different angles, like and different shots. This one takes a bit more time. But definitely in the end, I always put the image into Magnific to upscale it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, so let's say here we already have so this was the previous image, and then we already have it in a wider context, which is pretty cool. There's things for sure we can edit, we can change, like, okay, here this angle, how we enter it, and so on and so forth. But as a very quick starting point, you already have a concept of the villa, of it in context, and hopefully soon of some different angles. But while it loads, I can show you different ones here of what it does. While there we go, it loaded. Okay, this one actually didn't. What?
It's very cinematic though.
It's very cinematic, but it didn't pick the building. That is very odd because it picks the building really well. I'll show you with these other examples that I have. So for example, I've tested with this building that I showed you earlier. So for example, here you can see what it gives me just with one iteration, with one shot. It gives me these 9 options, and they all look quite cinematic. So I like this one, this one, this one. Now this, you can, if I change the table and the cup, sure, it's also cool. But yeah, all of them are really true to the form and also really cinematic and interesting angles. These ones were also quite interesting. So it gives you a lot of ideas. And then if you, let's say, it showed you an interesting angle, but it's not quite accurate, then you can just try to get that same angle from Nano Banana. So for example, with the interior that I showed earlier, you can see here most of the images. And so this was the input image, and then these were all the detailed images. So the fire, the table with the beautiful view, detail, this really interesting angle from top, And yeah, so I think it's great in terms of giving you all that variation. This one
And
as
then
well
some
here
of
is
those angles you actually picked for that as a base for that animation that you showed us previously.
exactly. Yeah. So, and for example, this one as well, I think is pretty cool. I haven't kind of finished it yet because I'm not sure about a couple of things, but yeah, again, like we have a really interesting angle here from the top. This is a very nice detail with the woman that again we can change and edit. But all of these I think are quite quite cinematic, and this is your starting point. Of course, you then pick some, you edit them, you put them into the video. But yeah, overall, I think this is what I wanted to show um, as a quick demo of what is possible within what 15 minutes and like 10-15 minutes. You can get the concept, the top view, the detail views, and then start editing them from there and start kind of improving parts, upscaling them, and then putting them together as a video, and you have your concept.
Has AI ever managed to surprise you? You know, with all of those variations that it delivers, did you sometimes find something where you think, "Oh, that's so nice. I wish I should have thought of it, but AI came with it. I love it."
All the time, yeah. All the time. That's why I think it is, I do see it as a creative partner, because it really is, I am allowing myself to be surprised, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's because it gives me it helps me it helps me overcome a creative block sometimes, let's say. So because I work with it and I pick an idea from here, I see something really interesting that I didn't think of myself. Okay. But then I think of something else, and then I kind of iterate in this way together with it and with the different ideas. So for example, with this one, I didn't really think that the photo from the top of the sofa would be an interesting angle, but I saw it and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, and so on. And also for the design, a lot of the designs that I do, I don't. Sometimes I start with a very clear idea and I just need to visualize it with AI. But sometimes I start with just a rough concept and then I work through it through iterations with AI.
Fantastic. Do you try to prevent it from steering your design decisions, or do you let it do its thing and you see just what you can pick? It sounds like it.
Yeah, so I think to a big extent, I am already dictating the design with my first intention. So with the prompt that I put, with the images or sometimes sketches, if it's more precise. Um, so in that way, I already am steering it in a certain direction. And then also with all of the edits that I do afterwards and with all of the picks. So the judgment in the end that stays mine. And you can really tell because in the office, when I was at Studio Tinfu and it was 10 of us, and you could really know who did this or like who designed this because everyone has their own kind of preferences, their own style, and you could really tell that. Even we were all using AI, of course, and I think this is the biggest teller that actually you do stand behind your work because it's a series of decisions that you make as a professional, as an estate, as a designer, and and in the end of the day, the final result feels like it's yours because it has been dictated by you along the way.
We could tell. I mean, looking at your Midjourney with your personalization turned off and your mood boards removed, all of a sudden things became generic, but with them, it was your style. It was visibly your style. So the intent is there, and the intent comes from the person, the artist, the architect, the designer. The idea comes from them, and it's just, I think AI, which helps with kind of visualizing the ideation part, and just making things faster. As I said in the very beginning, it takes you to further destinations faster in a more efficient way. And what you showed is exactly this. So let me ask you a few questions. Now, everybody will curse at me for having prepared so many questions, but we want to go deep, and not only on a, business or technical level, also on a personal one, if that's okay for you. So my first question is going to be actually, how anxious were you, taking that big step of going solo that young?
Very, very anxious. I was, I probably still am. I think it is a huge responsibility. It was a huge risk that I took, um, at the time when I took it. But it just felt right. It just felt right for me. I wanted to do it, and everyone that was close to me and my family, said they will support me, whatever I choose to do. And that really helped, of course. And in the end of the day, I believed in myself, and I thought, okay, I'm young. I can do it now. If it doesn't work out, I'll just find another job, and that's the end of it. Um, so I think, yeah. And so far I'm really, really, really happy I made this decision.
This was your plan B. This would have been my next question. Did you have a plan B? But it was like, let's try it out. And if it doesn't work out, well, try out something new, which is a very healthy thing to do, a very healthy attitude, I think, to start a business with. And how much do you think of going solo was actually enabled by AI, and how much simply came down to having the courage to do it because you're just a courageous or adventurous person?
Hmm. Um, Good question. I don't know how to rate it per se, but it's probably a split. It's probably a split because I would have definitely started something myself at some point in my life. And I always knew this is what I want to do. And I always knew that I want to get to a point where I can have my own business. But I just never thought that it will be this early. And I definitely, it was definitely enabled by AI, to take the leap earlier. And I definitely need more experience, of course. And I think about this a lot. This is quite a personal thing, but of course, I'm young. I need more experience in architecture, in the industry, and that's why I'm taking things one step at a time. I am trying to take everything in a cautious way, carefully, taking on responsibilities that I can deliver, because delivering a good product and a good result is really important for me. And I'm taking it step by step, learning as I go. And I think in the end of the day, I've spoken to so many people, and you never feel ready, really. It's at any point of your career, there's always more to learn. There's always something else. There's always a next step. And always the more you know, the more you know how little you know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I wish I could go back to the time when I thought I know everything. Also, your studio kind of focuses on design, on architecture, and on furniture design, like architecture, interiors, and furniture design, which isn't it a bit too much for a single person to handle? Or are you, let's say, testing the waters now, seeing which one picks up the most, and then you plan to entirely focus on it?
Yeah, so definitely it is quite a lot of things for a single person. But as I said, I'm kind of taking it one step at a time and seeing where it goes. So yeah, to an extent, I am testing the water, seeing which one I feel most comfortable in, which one I want to pursue more. But I think in the end of the day, I do want to grow the company to do all of them at the same time. They might not all grow together. It might be more furniture, then more architecture, and so on. But I do think that thinking about a project in a holistic way is really important, and it's quite important for me. I think that's where you create something really unique and really special. Um, and I do want to do that because I think now we are able to do it a lot more with AI because I am just able to explore more ideas. If I had to do it all the traditional way, I probably wouldn't stick with all of the three. But I think I do have the opportunity and the ability to do it, and I also have the ability to decide what I take on and and what projects I resonate with, what projects I want to work on. So I think in the end of the day, I want to work on all three, but we'll see uh, will be which one will
The
be
most successful.
happening. Which one will be the most successful one?
There's an interesting question by Amit related to what we're talking about right now, which is now you're solo, things are going good for you, hopefully we fingers crossed that they continue like this. But what happens if, let's say, a really big popular company like with there's a design direction and architecture direction, let's say Zaha Hadid Architects reaches out and is like, oh, come on over, baby, let's do something together. What do you do then? Would you consider leaving Daliva design or run it as a side project and go to Zaha Hadid? Or would you say, oh no, Daliva design is where my heart is?
Yeah. I don't think I can go back. I can definitely, and I would love to arrange working besides a big studio, let's say, so doing some supportive work for a big studio, but as a solo practitioner, as a company, because I think once you taste the the freedom of having your own business it will be quite difficult to go back. And also I think the the big studios, I mean, they're great. You can learn a lot, but I think um yeah, now that I've been on the other side of running my own business, working on the projects I want to be working on, it will be very difficult to go back to a traditional company, no matter how big it is.
Yeah, it's like moving into a house from an apartment. You don't want to go back to an apartment because you feel so, claustrophobic. All of a sudden, there is no garden, there is not enough space, there are neighbors, and all of those issues. So I totally get it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, that's absolutely understandable. Of course, there are negative sides to being solo, to being freelance, and all of those things. But also there are fantastic freedoms. Still, would you recommend to those who consider going solo to go into a studio first to learn, let's say, the basics, get the foundations, and do it? Go solo after that.
100%. Yeah, I think so, because I think you can learn a lot from the different studios and the different companies, the way they operate, the way they do the work. I think I had a really good experience in that because I was first working at a very big multidisciplinary company. So it was Region Partners, and they do all sorts of projects. They're a huge team with all of the engineers, Q&As, planning, architects, of course, um, and they have all these consultants within one big multidisciplinary company, and they work on different big projects. Um, and then I was able to see the other side of it, which was Studio Tinfu, where we were a small team, but all quite entrepreneurial, all very curious, all very hardworking, and it was really great to see and compare the two, and you can learn so much from both. So I think it's really good to have both of the experiences. So being in a big organization, seeing how a big organization runs, seeing how all these processes are put in place, and all those systems that are in place, which are also very important to understand and to experience and to see, and also seeing how it is working in a smaller practice where you get to know more about actually running the business. And it's more personal. Of course, you develop more relationships with the people, and yeah.
Yeah. Project organization, client contact. You can learn so much there instead of figuring it out all on your own. I know what I'm talking about because I immediately went into, my self-employment. So I missed all of that. Fortunately, before that, I have worked in architectural studios, so I could have that experience at least. But even without it, I would have had to, reinvent the wheel, which is just a waste of time. So totally agree with you here. But you know what I'm curious about? I think that many, architects, designers, artists, look at AI and see that obstacle or threat. You looked at it and you saw an opportunity, and I'm curious as to how come. Why do you think your the reaction to AI was different? Are you a generally, let's say, optimistic person or a future-oriented person? What is it?
Yeah, I think generally I am quite optimistic person, maybe too optimistic at times. I always see the cup being half full. So I think that helped. And I was always interested by technology as well. So for example, at school, at uni, I always try to learn the softwares like sooner because I was just interested in them. Back in school, even in Bulgaria, my specialization was with informatics, like mathematics and informatics. Um, but I did that just for a little bit. So I'm not good at coding. I know just the basics of C++. So it's not really helpful. Um, but I think that background was helpful. Then also I was, I was always curious. I think curiosity is really important. And I think that's the one thing that I would encourage everyone to have, just curiosity, just looking at the tools and exploring them, seeing in what ways they could be beneficial or not for you, discovering your own workflows, trying to solve the problems that you face. So I think all of that is best done through just being curious and just seeing what's out there and testing it.
Totally agree. Let's talk a bit about your clients. Do they actually care if and how much AI is involved in your work?
Yeah, so all of my clients know that I work with AI. So there are no clients that had no idea or were a bit surprised that I work with AI. So they all know that I work with AI, and they are very supportive of it. Some clients, in fact, came to me for that because they were curious about the process of working with AI. And then other clients don't really care that much. They know that I use AI, but as long as the job is done, that's what matters to them. Um, and yeah, and then other clients that come to me, they're as developers who want a concept, and again, they come to me because I work with AI. So I think I've been I guess, lucky in that sense that the clients that come to me appreciating or already appreciating what I do, rather than being wary of the fact that I would use AI, or even kind of, um, let's say, negotiating the prices because I use AI, which is, I think, something that could happen a lot, and happens a lot. And again, that's where you need to set the expectations right, because a lot of people who could come to you and think, oh, you're just using AI, so surely it's very fast, and surely it's so much cheaper. But you need to set the expectations in terms of what you're doing, how you're doing it, how much time you're spending, and so on, and um understand what's that for you, because in the end of the day, it could be cheaper to do it with AI. But it depends on what kind of project you're working on, what is the final outcome, what is your goal, and how much time you're spending it, and how you're pricing your time. So it's not one size fits all. I think you need to define your clients, and set your prices based on that, based on the kind of work that you do. And yeah, so I think in terms of the expectations with the clients, I've been quite lucky in that sense, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said makes me think that maybe some mm, clients expect from a modern day artist, designer, architect to actually utilize AI, and if they don't, they probably kind of questionable why they're not doing it. Like a new technology, which eventually gives you a certain competitive advantage, and you're not using it. Why aren't you using it? So maybe it's
Yeah.
it's the other way around. It's not that people don't care that you use it, but it's like they would care if you don't use it. What would you say?
Well, actually, I was recently this client, which is really interesting because for my website, I am currently redesigning, redeveloping my website, and want I worked and I wanted to work with the same people that did my website before, because I was really happy with their work. I think they did a really good job. The quality was great, and they're doing bespoke websites, which they're designing, they're coding. And so I was really happy, and I went back to them, but of course this time I wanted it to be better. I wanted it to be next level, because now we have AI, and now we can do so much more, and now we can explore so much more. But of course, I was a client, and in the end of the day, I still want them. I still want them to do it for me, because they're the experts. They know how to code well. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to optimize my website, and I don't want my website to look like it came out of Claude, because Claude has its own aesthetic. Um, and it's very obvious, and to me that's like, when it's very obvious that the design was 100% done by Claude, to me that's a downside, because it means you didn't really put that much effort or attention into it. You just kind of gave it, and it gave you the final result. Again, it depends what you're doing, but I am focusing on design, so for me design is important, and the design of my website is important. So when the designers, I asked them if they use Claude, and if we can integrate these kind of interesting things that I've tested with Claude, and I thought, oh, I want this effect and this effect, and they actually said they don't use it. So then I thought, why? Why are you not using it? Because it is it's just making your life easier, because it can do a lot of the coding for you, and then you can improve it. You can edit it down, because you're the expert, you know how to do it, and so on and so forth. So I think, yeah, actually probably a lot of clients are thinking in a similar way, but not all. Of course, not all clients are thinking like that. I think everyone is different, and there are definitely clients who are thinking that if you are doing the work with AI, AI is doing it for you, and therefore it's not as valuable.
Yeah. I mean, it took so long to teach people how much work it is to actually render out something. Most clients were thinking that we have this big red render button, where they just give us the CAD plans and we just press it and then everything gets extruded. Greenery gets scattered, everything becomes very beautiful, and then we ask for money for that. So, yeah, I totally understand. And I think that with AI, it's going to be the same. But it's good from time to time to see what you've shown us before, that with AI or without AI, it's still a ton of work. There is still a lot of intention coming from the designer, from the architect, from the artist behind it. And it's not just, AI just solving everything for one. And, because, Claude, you could have made the agent that could have joined me today instead of you running around with your laptop to give me all the answers for you. But, nobody does it. So obviously it's not that big of an option yet. So yeah, let's continue. There is a comment by Louis here who says, your confidence, patience, and quick delivery while staying in the water is inspiring to clients. And I think she has a boyfriend. She mentioned something about it, but hey, continue with the with those comments that are extremely kind, dear Louis. I'm just, kidding.
Thank
And yeah. So one question, you mentioned the word aesthetic. So let's talk about style. How do you develop a style in the era of AI? Yeah, style used to come partially also from limitations. Even if we talk about, let's say, visual style, as an architect, these types of visualizations with the wide silhouettes, for example, it it wasn't that people didn't want to include real people. It was just so difficult and time consuming that people decided, you know what, let's do silhouettes. And all of a sudden this turned into a style, and a very distinct one for that matter. And now, it's like with AI where everything is possible. You say, make aliens here, and it just adds aliens and all of those things. How do you develop a distinct style? Because that's also important.
That is a really good question. I think, yeah. So I think that's where it's really important to keep a balance of different media and to vary your creativity. So AI is, in the end of the day, just a tool. And I think developing your own style as an artist or an architect, is important. As an architect, you don't need a style per se, but it could be the way you design, your values, and so on. But I think in order to be recognized as a designer, as an artist, you do need some signature mark, some style in that sense.
Yes.
And I think that can be created through just using different media, because in the end of the day, and keep being creative, because in the end of the day, now we will start seeing it. Well, we are already seeing so much AI slop, and everything looks the same. Everything looks like it's been just done with AI without much thought, without much attention, and it's just not interesting. So you're not going to stand out. So even if you start using AI, but you use it in this way, there is no point. No one is really going to notice um, your content, your design, because people are already trained to it. While in the very beginning, the novelty of it itself was interesting. So the thing that was interesting, the thing that stood out were the few people who were using it. Now it's not the same. Now almost everyone is using it, and there are not that many limitations to using the tool. So it's not about using the tool itself, but it's about how you use it and how you make yourself stand out. And that's through using different media. So you just have to figure out what is that for you as a designer. Do you want to do some more specific types of paintings that then you train your LoRa on these paintings, and then you somehow include that into the AI? Or you Yeah, or you have a specific type of lighting that you always do, or all of these like subtle things that are only for you to figure out, to decide what they are, to be very intentional about them, and to mix different media. That's the best way to do it, because you can always mix your sketches, you can always mix your art into AI, and that's when you start getting something really unique. If you're just using uh, if you're using AI images to feed your AI model, you're not really gonna get anywhere.
You're just adding to the AI fatigue. I think more of you should shine through those AI images. This is how you can be, more unique and stand out. It's like you need individuality. If you just let, the next AI generation do it for you, then you just, you not make it out there. Would you say
100%.
one can overly rely, or let's say over rely on AI, and end up, not learning something? Let's say you rely too much on it, and at some point there are some issues with AI, and you're standing there without anything you can do. Let's say.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. I think I don't know what is it going to be like for the generations after us, and that is something that is worrying, and it worries me to an extent, because I think we were very lucky to go through everything. So I in Bulgaria, I started my education on a blackboard with chalk. And then 2 years later, we moved to a whiteboard. 2 years later, we moved to a screen that we can write on, and so on and so on. And so we learned.
I've only seen the blackboard. I haven't lived through all of those changes.
Well, yeah. So I lived through the different periods, and it was very interesting to see that progression. And now, I think we are resourceful because of that. But I think if you only rely on AI for answers, and you're not critical about it, it is dangerous. Because if you're an expert in something, you can understand where it's wrong, and you can understand what are the mistakes that you can improve, and you can understand what is good. But if you have no idea and you have no reference points, then it's a problem. Hello. Great to be back. Sorry about that.
Good. I have a loaded question for you. Good that you have all the calmness next to you, because in this group it's a heavy one. Do you think that AI will make the 3D visualization artists obsolete in future? Your honest opinion. We see that you are totally kind, totally friendly with us. You're showing us your stuff. You're showing us your workflow, so we know whatever you say, it's not meant in a bad way.
Yeah. No, so I don't think it will make them obsolete, but I think definitely it will change the way that things are done, for sure. So I think definitely 3D artists will have to adapt in one way or another, because I think the expectations of clients might shift and the industry might shift. But I think all the skills that visualization artists have developed are actually key to how using AI will be progressed, and that judgment, aesthetic judgment, the eye for proportion, for scale, understanding lighting, understanding good framing is actually really, really important when you use AI to be able to make these decisions, to tell what is good, what is not good. All of these skills are really important. They're actually key. So it's just the way that the work is being done, I think, will change.
So would you say the AI would replace the classic, let's say, rendering and classic rendering workflow, or would you say it would add to it, like strongly add to it, but not completely replace it, so that we don't render anymore, we just do everything with AI? What do you think?
I think it will add to it in a good way, in a way that the the visualizers are actually able to expand what they do, and they don't just work on production as much. They don't work just on actually physically, adding all the materials and doing that very technical production, which takes a lot of hours, but they will actually spend their time thinking about the bigger picture. So I think that's how it will evolve in the future for the visualizers.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting to hear your perspective on this, because you're very much into the AI topic, and it seems like the future that you describe relies a lot on AI. But what's with all the things that are opposing it? Let's say the EU regulations that, let's say, come now in the beginning of August, the pushback against the data centers, the higher pricing that is expected soon. How do you think will all of those will reflect on the future of AI and its usage?
Hmm. So I think AI is here to stay. I think we will adapt to it one way or another. It will be part of the way that we work in the future, one way or another, but it will not be as rapid as a lot of people say it will be. So I don't think we'll see AGI in the next year. I don't think we'll see robots doing operations, on real people anytime soon. I think there is still a lot of when it starts expanding, of course, that's when more problems come in terms of regulating it, in terms of the energy cost, and so on and so on. So that's why the adoption of it will be much slower than that first wave that made everyone speculate about it a lot. So the adoption in reality will be on a much, I think, more balanced curve. However, it is going to happen, in my opinion. It is going to be part of our lives, and no one is going to just shut it off and say, "Okay, that was it."
That
Go
was a
back
bad
to
one. Let's try something new.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, most likely. I see it in a very similar way. And for those that just heard this and are like, okay, I gotta learn AI. How? Where and how do you learn AI yourself? Trial and error, experimenting, or courses?
I think the best way is trial and error and experimenting. I think courses can, I think you can try a few different courses, but unless you use the tool and you get used to really working with the tool, no one can really teach you exactly how to use it. I think it's important to attend a few courses in terms of understanding the basics or knowing where to look, but definitely you just have to spend enough time experimenting and working with it to find your own ways, your own workflows. And this is again, I think, where you will stand out and you will find what is your language, because if you take a course by someone, you automatically adapt their language and their visual style. um and there's nothing bad in that, but you will definitely immediately start using it in the ways that they use it, because when it's the first time you're faced with something like this, you think that's the only way. But I think starting in the opposite way, by just experimenting, just seeing what this button does and seeing what this other button does, can do so much more for you. Because I think all of the people out there, well, including me, who can teach you, they'll only teach you what they've done. They'll only teach you one side of the story, and no one has really looked at and has the time realistically to look at all of the tools, evaluate all of the tools. I think a lot of the courses are, okay, I learned how to do this. I can do it well. I can now teach a group of people, and I can create a course that I can charge X amount of money for that course.
Yes, I mean, I totally agree with your point, but at the same time, there is a message from Nigel in the comments, which I'll just read it verbatim so that you don't say it comes from me. But he says, would rather give a course in the campus, to which, even though it's only what you do, even though it's so successful and so good already, I mean, if you feel like it, you should know that you're more than welcome to come to the campus and show us how you use AI. I mean, you showed us a bit, but you can show us as much as you want. And honestly, I think, yes, on the one side, experimenting, finding your own way with AI is definitely a great recommendation. At the same time, learning from somebody who's been using it for a while, utilizing it like you do, is also worth a lot. So yeah, think about it. We'll be more than happy to have you there.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, 100%. No, sorry, just to like balance my point, because of course, that's what I think in terms of the principle of how everyone will find something unique. But yes, I think it is very important to learn also from a course, because you can always learn about something new that you yourself didn't discover. So it's always a balance with kind of adding to your knowledge. But all I want to say is that you shouldn't just wait and adopt 100% what someone else is doing,
Yes.
but taking every course, getting all the knowledge you can from the different courses, but then finding your own recipe for success. That's all I want.
Always the best way. Same with visualization, on with almost everything that I know. Do you think AI can also teach you about itself? Like, can you ask AI, give me a course on yourself? Something like this.
To an extent, I mean, yeah, a lot of the time I ask Claude, for example, how to prompt something better when I'm vibe coding, or like I ask it to improve my understanding of the script, let's say. So if it has done a code for me, but I don't really understand how I can improve it, I can ask it, oh, can you show me how to improve that, and why is that better? So you can definitely ask it these kind of questions. I think it's much easier to ask it questions and give you answers for code, or for something that is by nature more easier to quantify. And easier to get a right or wrong answer. It's a bit more tricky when it comes to judgment, when it comes to aesthetics, when it comes to design.
Yeah, totally agree with you here. And we talk about learning so much and so much about AI, but there are also other skills that one should also learn and master. And one of those skills you are very great at. You're a great public speaker, according to Nigel. I haven't seen you in person or talk, in front of an audience, but I see you here on the show. How eloquent, and how you are prepared for every question and immediately have a good answer, and your thoughts are flowing so perfectly, and you don't seem stressed at all, despite the kind of stressful situation you're kind of in the cafe and stuff. So where and how did you learn speaking in front of people?
With practice. So I think definitely I'm very grateful to Tim, who was giving me the opportunity to also speak in public. So he was very open. He was pushing everyone from the team to different events. We were doing different podcasts, and he was giving everyone the opportunity to do it. So shout out to Tim for that. That helped me a lot, and he was my mentor in that as well. He's a great public speaker. He can collect his thoughts much better than I can as well. So it's a skill that you learn, I think. it's something that you develop over time. And then I think I also had different exposures before as well when I was young. And unfortunately, the situation becomes much more uncomfortable because it's even more loud around me. I'm so sorry about that.
We don't hear much of it though. I mean,
yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So I think it's a skill that you practice with time. When you appear, and of course, it's always as anything, it's a skill that you develop and you can always improve. Every time I look back on something that I've said, I see only how I could have said it better. But
yeah,
it's a
I
skill
think
that
it's a
you
characteristic of yours, but listening to you, it seems like everyone can become a good public speaker. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think so. Everyone can become a good public speaker. It's a skill. I think most things could be learned. I think to an extent you are born with some. For example, I mean, I am born more as an extroverted person, but I think even if you are an introverted person, you can train that. So everything, I think, to a big extent, could be trained. It's just the effort that you put in sometimes could be less or bigger.
Fantastic. And to, let's say summarize the topic of learning, are there any learning sources about design, about AI, about whatever that you would want to recommend? Courses, books, YouTube channels, whatever.
Yeah, so specifically for AI, I thought really good. I actually brought them with me. A really good book if you want to get a head start is this one, which is The Small Book of Artificial Intelligence.
Small book of artificial intelligence.
Very short introduction by Margaret A. Bowden. So this one is just a little bit more technical in terms of just understanding about language models, the differences, and so on, which I think is a really good. It's a good quick read to just have that prior knowledge. I think it's quite good to boil it down and think that and not think that AI is this all-knowing, godlike, thing that exists. Because I think a lot of people are scared of it. But when you kind of read about the technology behind it, I think that helps you to put it in perspective. And then the other one is this one, Machine Learning. It's a book by Riba, and
Nice.
it has quite a few really nice use cases of it being used in different ways by different bigger companies. And yeah, I think the use cases inside it are quite interesting and varied. So that's a good start as well. Just as kind of an overview. And then I mean, there's so many people out there that do courses on visualization with AI and AI for image generation. I can't really recommend because honestly, because I started using it so early, I'm kind of working in my own ways that I found useful. And then I'm looking at some shorter YouTube videos or channels that I follow, but they're always very different in terms of where I'm learning from. It's always different shorter videos on YouTube about a specific thing that I'm interested in. And that's how I kind of upskill. But there's a lot of courses out there on AI visualization and using AI for image generation and so on. So I think there's definitely a lot of good resources on Instagram and on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot. We are always asking about stuff that you might have tried out or that was being useful to you because it's, let's say, pre-approved in a certain way. So thank you so much for even picking those to the cafe to show us to them. Really, really appreciate this. Before we finish the Q&A, we were only talking about two subjects and stuff. What about people though? How important is community to you?
Yeah, really important. I think having a good community is even more important now the more there is AI, because we want to be part of something. And actually, having started my own business and uh, going solo, I think community is something that I definitely uh, want and feel the need for, and I think everyone does, because yeah, the more obsolete we become, the more we need uh, human contact and in-person contact. Like, for example, in-person events, I think are amazing. And you just get to meet people, speak with someone who's like-minded, learn something more directly from them. And I think that's really valuable. It's invaluable.
Yeah, it's almost scarce nowadays. We have those meetings, which I'm very thankful for that we can do this with me here being in Germany and you being in England. But still, I mean, in person just feels different and just hits different. So yeah,
Yeah.
attend. And if you don't have something that you can attend, it's too far away, too expensive, create your own, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a shout out to you for creating this community, which seems really, really engaged and involved, and that's really amazing to see and beautiful. And I think it's rare. Still, it's quite rare, but I think it's becoming more and more important uh, as people feel the need for belonging.
Definitely. It's shout out to Chaos for this, but yeah, I'm running it. So, you know, I'll take your words and thank you for them. Um, so two last questions. The first one. So in the audience or watching this later on YouTube, whatever the recording, there will be people who are skeptical against AI or who simply despise it. So what is your advice to those people?
Just try it. Why? But my first advice is not an advice; it's a question. Why? What is the reason? Is it fear? Um, or is it because you have spent countless hours and you tried to solve the problems that you want and you try to improve your work, but you figured out that for you it's useless. I think these are two different things, because if you spend enough time and effort and you try to learn the tools and you try to use them, but you still thought that it is not helpful for you, okay, sure. I mean, it's not helpful to everyone, I guess, and it depends what kind of work you do, and how helpful it could be. Um, but if you haven't tried it and you despise it, I think you better try it. I think it's full of opportunities, and you can really improve a lot of uh, a lot of parts of your life. Let's say you can manage your time better. If you, for example, if you want, you can set up an AI agent, and you can manage that. That can help you manage your time better, which means that you'll have more time to spend with the people you love. Or it can help you with your work, and it can help you explore more opportunities. It can help you expand what you do. It can help you start something else, a different branch of what you do. It's just it's full of opportunities, It really, I think, is a shame if someone has never tried it, never tried to use it, and still despises it.
It was such a lovely advice because what you were basically saying, you didn't say how you need to integrate it into your render workflow because maybe some people, I'm one of those people who enjoys my render workflow, and I don't feel like I would enjoy a time when I can do, let's say, 3 projects per day because I like going deep into a single project. And if AI allows me to do it one day, I don't think I would enjoy this as much as I would do like when I work 2 weeks on some renders. But what you said was like, hey, you don't have to do that. You can use AI for, let's say, the organizational part, for the marketing part, for whatever parts of your work, which leaves you with more time to do what you love. Let's say the classic workflow, or more time for your people who you love, people who for yourself, which is fantastic. So I thank you so much for this, eye-opening and a new direction, because once again, we often, suggest to people that they just add AI to their workflows. But if they don't want to, they can use it elsewhere and, still better and optimize their, let's say, daily routines. So
100%. Yeah, I think you summarized it really well. Yeah, 100%.
thank you so much. It means so much coming from you. You're such a good public speaker, and you're so much more focused with your thoughts. And the final question I ask every guest that I have: your message to the Chaos Campus, to all of those 11,500 people who are, gathered here because of the same idea of love for visualization, for a lot of them architecture, but also design, automotive, and whatnot project. Just, it's times are changing, AI or not. What's your general advice to those people?
My advice is be curious, keep doing what you love, and don't lose yourself. Find out what you really enjoy doing, what your passion is, what your USP is, what's your unique proposal, and explore how AI can either help you do what you love better and more of, or how can AI help you do the other things that you don't really want to do but have to be done. So be open-minded, be curious, see how you can take advantage of it, and remember that in the end of the day, it is just a tool, and you can use it in the way that it's benefiting you. So
Yes,
yes,
you
that is
definitely use it to your advantage, and you are the perfect example for this. And it seems like you're very happy and you're doing what you love and it's working out. And yeah, it is also because of the opportunities that you saw in AI and that you took advantage of. So fantastic final words. And let me thank you for this kind of technically improvised session. When it comes to its contents, nothing was improvised here. It was fantastically prepared on your side, and you absolutely. It was very insightful. It was inspiring. You helped us expand our perspectives and broaden our horizons when it comes to the topic of AI, but also when it comes to doing what you love and just finding the ways to do it. Um, Nigel says, dve bulgarski superzvezdi, fantastičen razgovor, благодаря ви. I didn't know that Nigel is so fluent in Bulgarian. This meant 2 Bulgarian superstars. Fantastic talk. Thank you so much. Thank you too, dear Nigel. We did 3 hours, but people are still watching because something like this is just unique and you don't find it elsewhere, as I promised in the very beginning. So thank you very much, my friends, for sticking with us for 3 hours. And of course, once again, special thanks to you, Rada, for making it possible despite all the things happening. You absolutely rocked.
Thank you very much to you, or thank you, Nigel, for also recommending me last time. But thank you very, very much to you for hosting this, and thank you to Chaos Group as well, and to everyone who stayed. I do apologize for all the technical problems around, but hey ho, it's the real life, and sometimes these things happen. So
Hey, we're keeping it real. We make
yeah,
it. We made
we
it
are keeping it
special,
real.
right? As Amit said a few times, all the ambient music, the setting, it was unique. It was cool, and we loved it, and we absolutely enjoyed your presence here. Be welcome. You're always welcome on the campus. Share your stuff, exchange thoughts, share stuff about AI. We're more than welcome to do so. Love to have you there.
Thank you very much. It really has been a pleasure for me. And yeah, I would love to contribute to the community as well.
Fantastic. So, my friends, that's it for now, and also for the next, I don't know how many weeks, that we're going on a summer break, but I'll be back at some point, I don't know, in the end of August. I'll be recharged, that's for sure. And yeah, as always, stay safe, be healthy, rock on, and keep it real, my friends. Much love, and see you around. Bye bye.